Hey, what's up, y'all? Welcome to Snatch Chat, where I'm here to help you lose fat, but not your mind. I'm Tiffany, certified personal trainer, nutrition specialist, and your body snatcher. And today we are going to talk about alcohol. And not just alcohol, but how it is worse than cake. And when I say cake, I don't really mean cake. I just mean anything that you associate with being the worst thing that you can eat. It could be brownies or ice cream or candy bars or whatever in your mind you're thinking is the worst thing that you can eat. A lot of that is going to be sugar in most people's head. So we are going to talk about why none of those things are actually as bad as alcohol. And that is coming from me, a certified lush who loves some cocktails. So I'm not coming from a place of being condescending. I am just telling pure facts, okay? So I'm going to get into that. Before we do, make sure to get your free workouts in the description. Okay, so I put together a whole little bundle for you to get some good free work. Okay, very high fat burn, really good stuff. So do that, and also make sure you subscribe. Okay, so I'm gonna get right into it. Per usual, this is a chat, so I do have some notes in front of me just to help me get through the points and get through them swiftly as possible, because you know that I am a chatter. That's even a word. I am a chatter, and I like to do sidebars. So the notes do help me to some degree. Okay, so I'm gonna get right into it. Okay, so the first thing is, well, first, this to be clear, these are things about how it's really delaying fat loss worse than these other things. So that's pretty much the main gist of it for the three things, but it really is three different facts that you might find surprising. Okay, so the very first one is the way that our body processes sugar versus alcohol. And why alcohol is worse is because it's actually the only thing that we consume that is a barrier to fat loss, that actually delays fat loss. So when you eat a piece of cake, even though it may not be the most nutritious thing for you, it still is made up of macronutrients. So there's going to be fat in there, there's going to be carbs, and there's going to be probably a tiny bit of protein, right? Because you're going to have probably some egg in it and stuff like that. When you're talking about alcohol, on the other hand, it has no macronutrients, and the body processes our macronutrients in a specific order. Okay, and this is where a lot of diets come in and why people do keto versus this, or whatever. But the way it works is carbs are our body's natural energy source and what our body prefers to break down first. So the order is carbs are broken down first for energy, then fat, and then protein. So when you drink alcohol, what happens is alcohol moves to the top of the list. Okay, so now you're looking at a situation where your body, before it gets to those sugars that you're so worried about and it gets to that fat that you're worried about, it's actually going to have to burn the alcohol first, because the body doesn't recognize alcohol. So it's almost a defense mechanism to where the body is like, what is this inside of me? We need to use this as fuel. So basically, while it sounds kind of good in the sense that you're getting rid of the alcohol first, it's really not, because if the alcohol wasn't there in the first place, you would be burning your sugar and your fat. So that's it. So while you're eating a piece of cake, you're still eating macronutrients at least, and you're breaking down some of that as you do stuff, metabolize, exercise. But if you drink alcohol, it's moving straight to the top of the list, and it is delaying your fat loss. So that's fact number one. Okay. Number two, which you probably already know, is that it has a lot of empty calories. Okay. But I don't think people realize how many empty calories. Like, it's a lot of empty calories. So one example I like to use is that when you go to these restaurants and you get these pre-made like slushy drinks or anything like that, you're looking at maybe 500 to 1,000 calories, believe it or not, in each one of those, if you're talking about the big bowls or whatever. those have a ton of calories. Your average piece of cake is probably going to run you 3 to 6 or 700 calories depending on the size. So when you start thinking about the fact that what I just said, that there are macronutrients at least in the cake, and there are also less calories in the cake, you start to see that alcohol could be quite problematic in the weight loss journey. The other thing about alcohol is that we don't usually just have one drink, right? So when you get it in, okay, when we get lit, we're not really just having an ounce and a half of liquor, which is the standard pour. So in one and a half ounce of liquor, that is nearly 100 calories. Okay, so if you think about that, most people probably put like 2 to 3 ounces of liquor in their drinks, unless they're getting it made in a bar or something, because they might measure it. But even there, they a lot of times they just free flow it, right? So you're looking at least 200 calories, and that's just with the liquor by itself. We're not, if you have two drinks and you're actually having the real pour, and we're not talking about the juices or the slushy mixes. Sweet and sour mix, that stuff has tons and tons of calories in it for a little bit of it. So when you start looking at it, drinks, the average person is going to drink at least 500 calories when they're having a night of drinking. And this is where a lot of times where people are confused what's happening to their goals, because they're so good, during the whole week. But then, getting, cheat days can get you in trouble. I don't really like the term cheat days, because I think you should treat yourself. I like to call them treat days, okay? But I think every day should be a treat, and you should just mix things in. I don't believe in just isolating one day. However, I think that the idea of a cheat day can be taken very far, and it can really ruin a lot of your progress through the week. So that's just something else to keep in mind. And of course, that was something that totally wasn't on the board, but it's really important. So I needed to make that point, okay? So yeah, that's number two. The fact that there are actually just more calories, okay, in alcohol than there would be in a piece of cake, okay? And then the third and final point is that, and this is probably the worst point, because yeah, okay, empty calories is bad, high calories is bad, whatever, but alcohol is actually responsible for making you want to eat more. Okay, so I happen to, part of why I did this segment today is because I happened to watch a documentary on Netflix a week ago called The Truth About Alcohol. You can check it out if you do watch Netflix and you're interested. But they had one, it was all kinds of stuff. It was talking about disease and all kinds of things with alcohol. But one of the segments was about the fact that when you drink, it automatically makes you eat more. And they did a little experiment based on a research study that showed that people were eating more of the snacks provided while they were drinking. So they took a group of young men, okay, who were athletes, and they were, it was after their game or something. And what they did is they gave half of them real beer and gave the other half of them fake beer. And then they actually tracked how many of the snacks they ate while they were at the table. So they had like chips and peanuts and, stuff like that. It was in London though, or somewhere over there. So like the snacks were the chips we get. But anyways, it was different. It wasn't super American, like, typical snackery, but they did, calculate what was happening. And what they found is that the group that had the alcohol consumed 300 more calories than the group that didn't have the alcohol each. So like, 600 versus like 300 calories worth of snacks. And if you think about this in the scope that you're already taking in, 400-500 calories just drinking the drink, and then you're adding on another few hundred calories more than what you would have eaten, you're looking at a really, really, really high calorie intake during that little 2 hour block or however long your hangout time is. So it was really, really interesting to see. I know for a fact that they've done research on this, and it does seem to have some kind of effect on your hormones and just your mind and what you think you want. So it was interesting to actually see it on film and in documentation, and to see it actually brought to an experiment that's visual and not just on paper. So that's actually what kind of prompted this whole thing. So just wanted to make it clear that, that is clearly worse than cake. And that if you have the drink, you might be more inclined to eat the cake, okay? And so you're going to have the cake and you're going to have the alcohol. But yeah, so those are the three things. Very quickly, very quick recap. The body processing, so alcohol moves to the top, so you're not going to burn your fat and your carbs as fast. 2, empty calories. You're eating a lot of them. They don't satiate you. You're not going to get any nutrients. You're still going to be hungry. So, it's kind of like it really is just a treat. And then 3, it prompts snacking biologically. So you're going to want to eat more, and therefore the damage is prolonged and made even further by the fact that you're taking in more calories. Okay, so those are the 3 points, and I just want to end with my usual statement that you really have to remember in the end with weight loss, it's all about the total calories in and the total calories out. So, when you're looking at something like alcohol, you really have to take into account the fact that it's going to add quite a bit to your intake, and that so you have to compensate for it in some way. So either, knowing that you're going out, and this would be kind of where the action step comes in. If you know you're going out, you're going to a birthday party, you're doing something fun, and you're probably going to drink a little bit more than usual, then you can kind of plan for that, which is another thing I always say. Plan for what is going to happen. It is your best friend, so you can be a little bit more disciplined during the week if you know you're going out on Saturday, or you can plan to work out more to kind of compensate for it. But it's just good to know that alcohol definitely is one of the biggest barriers to losing fat and weight. So it deserved its own little video, and so here it is. Okay, so that is it for the day. Make sure that you get the workouts that I put in the description, and also make sure you subscribe to the channel. Till next time, eat well, drink well, all that good stuff, and I will see you next time.